Do you have a classic Mustang, a Chevelle, a Camaro, or even a square body truck that you've owned for a while and you know what, it's a good vehicle, but you just want to build it into something more, maybe take it to whatever that next level is? Well, the next level is either a Pro Touring or a Resto Mod type build. And did you know there's actually a difference between the type of builds that you do that either qualifies as a Resto Mod or a Pro Touring car? In today's video, we're going to clear the air and understand better what a Resto Mod build entails. We're going to take a look at the most popular parts and components that make a Resto Mod car, and then we'll take a look at what vehicles are the most popular that are getting the Resto Mod treatment. So guys, stay tuned and we'll go ahead and get started to better understanding what a Resto Mod is. Hey guys, if you like today's video, please consider subscribing to the First Place Auto Parts YouTube channel. We're going to continually be adding new videos every week, and we go to some pretty cool car guy stuff I'm pretty sure you're going to want to see. I've been in the automotive aftermarket for over 35 years, and I saw when the Resto Mod movement started. Look, it really kind of morphed out of a day two kind of an environment where we got the car, and then on day two we changed some things. Maybe we put some headers or some mag wheels on a car, and that was it. Resto Mod is really at the intersection of where restoration and performance or modifications meet. It's a 50-50 mix. A car is nicely restored, but it also has a very heavy slant towards performance. Look, the American muscle cars like your Chevelles and your Novas, they were good cars in the day, but that was a long time ago, over 50 years. By today's comparison, the modern Mustangs and Camaros that are rolling off your dealership lots, early American muscle cars are not only painfully slow compared to those cars, but they're uncomfortable and really they're not all that safe. Look, at best, these early American muscle cars, they stopped in 350 feet. Your modern muscle car will do it in 150 feet or less, meaning if you're following behind a new Camaro with your old Camaro and that guy stops for a red light when you weren't expecting it, you're going to be up inside the backside of his back bumper, which isn't good. Enter Resto Mod, which increases the performance at every level of a classic American muscle car. Resto Mod built cars are vehicles that incorporate upgrades to major components to make the car handle, accelerate, and stop at a level that is competitive with the latest Camaros or Mustangs you can buy today. To understand where Resto Mod kind of fits in the hierarchy of owning a classic car, you start with the restoration. Let's just start that, call that phase one, restoration. A well-done car that mimics and looks and drives like a car did back when it was made in the late 60s or early 70s. Next step after that is what we call a day two conversion, which is where we start to bolt on performance parts that make the car our own. You know, things like headers, maybe a different carburetor and intake, or a set of mag wheels. That's what we call day two. The third step is what we're going to call Resto Mod, and Resto Mod takes a lot more parts than the day two conversion. As a matter of fact, you're going to touch a lot of your car's components with new product that's going to bolt on. That's the neat thing. Look, when you do a Resto Mod conversion, it's going to take a lot of parts, and you're going to get to be on a first name basis with the guy driving the big brown truck, because he's going to be delivering boxes to your house in ever increasing sizes every day. The neat thing about Resto Mod is most of these parts are bolt-on, and the automotive aftermarket has done a really good job, especially the performance guys, in making stuff that you can put on your car in your garage. You're going to need a fairly decent sized toolbox, and unlike Spicoli, who dad was a refrigerator repairman, you're going to need more than a hammer and a crescent wrench, but it's not beyond the guy that has a moderate amount of mechanical skills to build a Resto Mod vehicle. Upgrading your project to a Resto Mod status is straightforward, as many of the components are readily available. Items such as disc brake conversion kits using Wilwood components and self-learning fuel injection units, like the Holley EFI units that replaces the carburetors, aluminum radiators and electric fans from Cold Case, and complete exhaust systems from Flowmaster, bolt on and replace worn or underperforming old technology. And the cool thing about building a Resto Mod is that you can build the car in stages. You're typically starting with a car that's just the way you like it, meaning it may be restored. Shoot, man, it may even have some patina on it, but it's the way you like it, it's what you want. The neat thing is you can go from wheels and tires onto brakes later on, onto the suspension, onto the interior, onto the powertrain, and you can do it at different steps, either as your time or your budget allows. That's the plus side. The downside is you're going to have to explain to your wife every month why your credit card bill is so high. And trust me, as a married guy who's been doing this for a long time, that is a never fun conversation to have with someone who really may not understand why you're taking apart a perfectly good car and changing it. The popular recipe of Resto Mod parts and upgrades typically starts with the installation of larger and wider modern two-piece wheels and tire combinations and converting the old disc drum brakes to modern multi-piston disc brake conversions with drilled and slotted rotors. Once your rolling gear is handled, it's time to get the stance dialed in with lowering springs, larger sway bars, and performance shocks. And once your Resto Mod stops and turns better, you're going to realize that the stock interior, especially the seats, leave a lot to be desired. Upgrading the interior with a custom set of seats that have bolstering not only keep you planted, but increases the comfort level to a more modern feel. And if you want to go full Resto Mod, then you're talking about an upgraded power plant with a modern overdrive transmission as well. And once finished, your Resto Mod project will still be recognizable as a classic car or truck, but it will handle, stop, and feel like a modern version of itself. A Resto Mod is a time machine with its roots in the 60s and 70s, but its heart in the current millennium. And now a little bit about Pro Touring, because the two get intermixed, Resto Mod and Pro Touring, and they're totally different. If Resto Mod was a 50-50 mix of restoration and modification, Pro Touring is a mix of 30% restoration and 70% modification. Pro Touring machines, and they're sometimes called G machines, which really hints at their ultimate purpose, is a much different vehicle in terms of both performance level capabilities and the fact that you will be stroking a sizable check to your favorite car builder. Or let me put it another way, if a Resto Mod is a claw hammer, then the Pro Touring machine, it's a sledgehammer, or in this case, a dead blow hammer. But the purpose of the dead blow hammer is to hit something harder, or a sledgehammer is to knock something out bigger and develop more of a wallop. Well, that's exactly what a Pro Touring machine does. It's a very focused, darn near quasi race car compared to a Resto Mod. And really, the difference between Pro Touring and Resto Mod, you can really clearly see it when it comes to the budget that's required for each. Look, a Resto Mod car you can do for as cheap as $5,000 on bolt-ons. Heck, the limit can go up to $25,000 or $30,000 depending on what you do with the drivetrain. Pro Touring car, now you've exited reality and you enter into the era, the rarefied era of hand-built cars. You're going to take a car, drop it off with your chosen builder, leave it with them for a year to 2 years, and then have a bill that's north of $200,000 to $250,000. It's a totally different animal. So the budget has a lot to do with the type of build you're going to do. But Pro Touring, very expensive, very specialized. Resto Mod, man, that's a cheeseburger type budget right there. And the best thing about Resto Mod is you can do it as your budget allows. Pro Touring, you're writing the check when that thing's done in one lump sum if you're not doing some sort of a draw system with your builder. Pro Touring type builds will employ a custom chassis designed around carving corners, brake systems that are just this side of Formula One, engines that employ dry sump oiling systems and make stupendous amounts of horsepower, and hand-fabricated interiors that include roll cages, lots of leather with attention to safety and detail, all wrapped in a classic muscle car body that has been massaged, widened, lowered, raked, channeled, tubbed, and is rolling on one-off custom wheels shod with race car sticky tires. Pro Touring cars make lousy street cars, but they make fantastic track day cars and even autocross type cars. Look, they're a lot like the homecoming queen that we all knew in high school, right? They were kind of one-dimensional, they were very needy, and quite honestly, on a daily basis, they weren't that much fun. Same goes for a Pro Touring car. Look, those things go fast, they turn fast, and they stop even faster. The most common vehicles to Resto Mod are similar to the most popular muscle cars to restore, which really isn't much of a surprise. First-gen Camaros, 68 to 72 Chevelles and Novas, and the early Mustangs all have massive numbers of parts and pieces that not only make restoring them relatively easy, but also have scores of performance parts available for them that enables the owner to build a Resto Mod simply by pointing and clicking their way to the parts they want to bolt on to make their dream car a reality. The terms Resto Mod and Pro Touring get thrown around a lot and they get mixed up, but they're very different vehicles. Hopefully this video has helped you better understand what a Resto Mod vehicle is and the kind of parts that go into making it a reality. If you're interested in maybe turning your car into some sort of a Resto Mod or moving towards that direction, I'm going to include some links in the description of this video that'll take you to the First Place Auto Parts website, where we have a ton of performance products that can make your dream into a reality. Guys, until next time, keep the hammer down and keep it between the guardrails.